What's up, everybody? We got a full house tonight. We got a ton of people in chat already. It's good to see everybody.
Yeah.
We are looking forward to this. This is going to be a ton of fun. I think anybody that caught the November live stream knows how much we love Found North and how much they do stuff. So let's go ahead and introduce the people on screen to chat. There's going to be a lot of faces you may not know, and then we'll go through and say hi to chat and kind of give you guys a little bit of what we're doing tonight. So first up, we've got the man himself from Found North. We've got Nick Taylor.
Woo!
What's up, man?
What's up? My audio cut out literally the second you went live, and I was like, I hope he's not introducing me right now. And I'm just sitting there like,
oh man.
Hey,
no,
when it's live, you just got to roll with it.
Yeah, exactly, right? I was like, should I just start talking? No, I really appreciate you guys having me. I'm excited. You have three really good, although I know you guys are, I know a bunch of you are sipping on barrel one, which is a hell of a whiskey. So you have four good single barrels in front of you, I should say.
Yes, we do. And speaking of what we've got, we've also got someone that you guys may know in chat, Joe Carter, and Jess Carter is just off screen.
Jess,
over there.
Can we see your face?
Hey! There she is. and then Joe with the Maumee Valley Whiskey Society there. We've got three guests from MVWS. Joe, if you'd like to introduce everybody.
Jeff, just off screen here if he wants to lean. Oh, there he is. There's Jeff. All right. And then we got Chris and Landon. And then on another screen, because we have awesome members from all around, she's about an hour away, we have Ashley in there too, also a member of the Whiskey Society.
So happy to have you all here tonight. And then another name you may recognize in the chat, WJK, Billiam himself, and his lovely, much better half, Delia, are here with us to participate in the pick as well. So yeah, we got a full crowd. Bill, Delia, how you guys doing tonight?
We are good. Glad to be here. Got a few different Found North barrels here.
Absolutely.
To try a couple of new ones. 3 new ones, in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be a lot of fun. So just to give everybody an update in chat, and we'll say hey to everybody in chat here in a second, but what we're doing tonight is we're going to be selecting a barrel. We've got 3 samples here, and it's the same base whiskey, and Nick will speak more to this as we go through, but this is the same base whiskey, just finished 3 different ways. And Nick can talk to that when we get to it, but we've got a Calvados finish, which is going to be very interesting. Muscat finish, which also should be very interesting. And we have a New Wood Char #1, which if anybody is familiar with the Found North single barrel that they released at the very beginning of their single barrel program, it's a New Wood Char #3. So we have a New Wood Char #1 here. It'll be very interesting to see how that compares. If you have one of these single barrels, it might give you a good touch point for what we're doing tonight with these 3 samples. So pour it up if you've got it. Let's say hey to some people in chat real quick, and then we'll start getting into this.
Scroll to the top.
Yeah.
All right. Ooh, we've got the bourbon engineer coming in early.
WJK's here.
Yeah.
Early. Matt Burns is here. Travis Robeson. Michael Newcomer. The lawnmower detective. I mean, you got to stay up on what's going on with the lawnmowers.
I know.
We got Mike James, Kathy Huey.
Oh, Kathy, I have eaten all the granola already that you provided. It's delicious.
It's gone. It doesn't last longer.
I can't see Kathy's name and not talk about food because she makes really good granola and really good brownies as well.
We got Larry here. Cheers. Greg Johnson is here.
Hey, Greg. And
seeing Greg's name reminds me, we are going to do a little bit of a giveaway tonight for anybody that does want to get in a little super chat action here. We got the banner rolling.
Yep.
We're going to give away some samples of Found North batches 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Which are amazing. My favorite is batch, which was it, 6?
Yeah.
Batch 6?
I mean, 6 and 5 are all, I mean, they're all good. But 5 and 6, it's like they're elevating. And then whichever barrel we pick, you're going to get a little sample of that as well. We're going to save some for you. So you get a little sneak peek of what we picked. But yeah, so Greg is here tracking. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Any
Greg.
super chat will get you in on that. We've got Chris D's here. That name, I was gonna say Doyle, but that's not it. Dottie, no. Chris Dottie's here. It is 8 o'clock. We were gabbing it up behind the scenes a little bit.
We were
lost
late.
Track of time. We got Dave here, Knucklehead. Good to see you, man. And we got, let's see.
Kathy and Greg are having a moment together in the chat.
Terrence McDermott is here. Mike is here. What's up, man? Scott. Kim
Scott
Schwartz.
Just poured batch 6.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Kim.
Heck yeah.
Don Willis. Michael H. Paula's here.
Mark is here. Heck yeah.
Oh, Paula's drinking the batch 1 single barrel as well.
Hey, there you go. Cheers. Tiller's Bourbon Challenge is here. What's up? Welcome aboard. Tuck is here. Jess Carter's here. Ty Gardner's here. Michael H is here. All right. Great to see you guys.
Thank you guys
Steve is
for
here. Chris P. All right. Yes. Thanks everybody for being here. So we're not going to delay. We're not going to make this thing take any longer than it has to tonight. We might have our hands cut out just trying to figure out which one of these we like the best because they are so different.
Our hands cut out.
That sounds painful.
What did I say?
You said we might have our hands cut out. That's violent.
We might have our hands full and our work cut out. You guys knew where I was going with that.
I like my hands. I want to keep them.
All right. So we're going to pull our glasses on screen here. And we got a lot of people in on this pick. We want to try to maintain some sense of order. So we'll kind of go round robin on this. But if everybody's ready, I think we're going to start with the Calvados. Is that right, Nick? And then while we're smelling and tasting and kind of getting acclimated to this and ready to talk about it here around the table, Nick, if you can just kind of, for anybody that doesn't know how Found North does whiskey, it's to me one of the coolest, whiskey nerdiest, like just quality to craftsmanship brands that there is out there on the market. And I would love for you to speak to that. And thank you, Lawnmower Detective, for that. So yeah, heck yeah. All right. So Nick, the floor is yours while we all get into nosing and tasting this Calvados finish.
Awesome. Yeah. So guys, for those of you who are new or newer to Found North, we're an interesting brand in the sense that it's a bunch of American guys making Canadian whiskey. And effectively, what we've done is we've sourced a bunch of, generally speaking, older whiskeys from Canada, but we've blended them very much to a American whiskey drinker, or I should say, a drinker of American whiskey, not country specific. That particular palate, which as it is our palate. The funny thing is we make whiskey for ourselves and then hope that other people like it. And it's turned out all right so far. But effectively, the fundamental difference between Canadian and American whiskey in process for how they make the whiskey, because we'll get into that. The fundamental difference is Americans do a mash bill. They combine the grains right before fermentation, and whatever your grain ratio is going into distillation is what it is going into the barrel. The way the Canadians do it is they do these single stream whiskeys. So these 100% rye, 100% corns, 100% wheats, etc. They ferment, distill, and age them, and then they blend them at the end, which gives the Canadian blenders an incredible amount of flexibility. The downside is that Canadians then tend to water it down, chill filter it, and add caramel coloring to it, all of which we don't like. And from a profile standpoint, it takes it in a direction that's really opposite of our personal palates. So for us, when we make the whiskey, we actually are using the same technique of using these single stream whiskeys, but we're blending them just much more towards a kind of big cask strength bourbon or cask strength rye profile. And that's essentially how we make whiskey.
I love it. I think that method is so cool. Like I still talk to people about it. Like at my work, people know about Found North. The people that don't even know because I'm like, you guys, because they know I have a channel, and so I'll talk about it. And I'm like, you guys, it's so cool.
Yeah, and we're not saying this because Nick is here. We could kick him out anytime we want him. We legitimately do love the craftsmanship that's involved in this.
Yeah.
I mean, blending in and of itself is an art, but when you take something like Canadian whiskey that has been so just, you know, it just hasn't been treated with the same type of approach that some of the craftsmanship that we all appreciate in American whiskey has. And you take what you can do with those single grains that have been aged and you start to get into blending them and stuff.
Yeah.
It creates a really cool process. And I mean, we love it, man. Yeah. We absolutely love it. Cool. And I would love to talk about this Calvados finish. So what did you think about this?
I like this one. Granted, I haven't tried any of the other ones.
Tried the other ones yet.
My initial impression is this is good. It's sweet, but there's a little spice there that's keeping it from being too sweet.
Yeah.
Which I can appreciate because I don't like it too sweet.
Yeah. This glass kind of reminds me of you. Like it's sweet, but it's also spicy.
A little spicy, a little salty from time to time.
Yeah. It hits right on the front of the palate with a ton of sweetness, and then it just ramps up into this nice peppery spice to me mid palate. And it's, man, okay. I want to see what everybody else thinks about this.
Yeah.
Connor, thanks, man. And I did see the world's top whiskey taster was here in chat.
Oh, I did see that as well, Mr. Matthew Porter.
Yeah, we see you, Matt. All right, so Joe, I'm going to pitch it over to you, and I'll let you go. Let you head the show up over there. What'd you guys think about this one?
Yeah, so we kind of muted there. We kind of had a little discussion, so we'll go around the table here, and everybody had some pretty nice comments. Do you want to, Jeff? You want to?
Yeah, for me personally, I picked up a nice fruity note to it, a kind of a pear flavor, some honey, and then the finish was really nice, oily, and stuck around for quite a while.
Yeah. Chris, what'd you think?
Yeah, I had like a cherry Coke on the nose with an apple flavor and minty rice spice, and thought it was a long finish.
Yeah, I had kind of in between. I had like a light fruity nose, almost like a real fruit. So a lot of American whiskeys, you can get like a candy fruit. This almost had a real fruit. Like if people are familiar with like a good Irish, like a heavier, like a Redbreast 12 cask strength or something, like a really high proof Irish where you get a nice dark red fruit. But then it was floral, citrus, fruity. They mentioned the pear. I got some of that, and then honey. And honey almost maybe because the mouthfeel was really thick and heavy. And I love that because that's the telltale sign for me of a special whiskey. I can't stand thin whiskeys. And that had so much body to it. Yeah. Almost like, I think batch 3 on steroids, I think is what I can compare that one to. Landon, what about you?
Yeah, only thing I would add on, great texture, great mouthfeel, really stuck around quite some time. Definitely the spice around the tongue, not like a throat spice, but it's like a mouth spice that just lingers there. That's what I got.
Jess, what you think?
I got like a raisin or an apricot, like fruit, definitely some oak. I'm going to go against the grain. I thought it was a little bitter and a little drying and like picked up some tobacco and leather notes that really? More earthy. It's good. I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan, but we'll see.
Yeah, I thought it's fantastic. Not sure if the flavor notes are what my preferred is, but the quality is just, it's really good. Like who doesn't like eating honey? So, yeah.
Apparently Jess doesn't.
Hey, that's perfect. I mean, pears and honey that's not going to be everybody's favorite profile. So love to have differing opinions because palates differ and everybody likes different things. So Absolutely love that. Ashley, what did you think about this one? Are you muted?
I think you might be muted.
I really got a lot of freshness on the nose, like a fresh apple. Oh, am I muted?
No,
you're good. You're good. You're good.
I think it was just a delay.
Okay.
We got you.
So I got fresh apple. Yeah, so fresh apple on the nose, some oak and butterscotch. I thought it was great. The palate, I like peach pie, like a spiced tea. I like the finish, like a drying tea finish, which I really like. So that's a little bit different. Nice oily, long finish. I thought it was really good.
Love it. Delia, Bill, what'd you guys think about this one?
So the great things about Found North, regardless of which one I have, 3, 4, 5, 6, or any of the single barrels, is you get that age gives you that beautiful oak tone, but it's never overdone. It's not too oaked. And on this, you still get that oak, but for me, it was in the finish. The front side was replaced by that fruity sweet, from which I presume is that finish. And we both said apple right away. I could see the pear too, but it's one of those kind of acidic, fruity sweetness. And the rye spice is another signature of the Found North, and it's great. I thought the finish was right there too. Anything you want to add?
No, I think we were very similar. It was very light on the nose, but you got that fruity sweet, and again, very different from like a candy sweet. It was really a fruity sweet. The initial taste had that fruity sweet, but then you kind of went into this really nice finish, and on the backside, like Bill said, I kind of got the oak. So a nice balance.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, when we do these types of things, we do these blind flight nights with our Patreon community. And so Calvados is an apple brandy, so it makes sense that you get the apple note. To me, when we do these blind flight nights with our Patreon community, we purposely don't throw too many notes out in the beginning. We don't ever want to put anybody on the spot, so we go first, but we also want to pitch in but not influence too much. So, but we are picking this barrel, so I didn't want to influence flavor notes. But this, to me, I grew up and there was an apple tree at my house, and if the apples fell off of the tree and then they kind of just sat there for a while, and just like the overly ripe, that's where you get those like really concentrated fruit sugars. That's what I was getting on this. And it's bright. It's got that kind of, it's just got that almost like an effervescence to it as well. But then, and then the oak on the back end, I agree with Bill, like the oak just kind of lingers, and I really like it. It's a very bright, almost refreshing glass of whiskey.
Yeah. I want to highlight this. Steven says batch 6 is fantastic, and I agree.
Yep. And Larry, Kathy, thank you guys for the super chats. I think we had one more in there. Jason Casarella is here. Happy to see you, man. Good to see you here. So, wow, this was really interesting on the Calvados. I knew it's an apple brandy. I tried not to go in with preconceived notions, but that was different than what I thought it would be in how lively it is on the palate. I was expecting it to be, when you're dealing with finished whiskey, sometimes the finishing can get heavy-handed, or, it depends on the person's preference as to when they pull it. And I didn't get that was too heavy-handed at all. It was a very integrated glass for me. You guys ready to get into the Muscat finish?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Nick, as we do this, you've talked about the process of Found North whiskey, but can you talk to us specifically about what that looks like in single barrel form? Because I know there's questions around, hold on a minute, you got single grains, but it looks like there's a mash bill here, but then how do you get a single barrel out of that? So while we're into this Muscat, if you could tell the good folks how you guys do business up there on single barrels, that would be great.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's a really good question. And effectively, we really wanted a single barrel program. I think single barrels are awesome because of what we're doing right now. I think the whole idea around involving consumers in the process of making whiskey, or as much as possible, is really exciting. And for us, obviously, if our whole thing is blending, it doesn't really make sense to take one of those single stream whiskeys that we're blending and just say, okay, here's our single barrel. it wouldn't be very representative of Found North, nor would we be really adding much to the whiskey, right? We would effectively just be buying whiskey, selling it to you, and we're just kind of a glorified middleman. And so what we decided to do was, okay, let's create a blend, but very kind of obviously, instead of creating a blend that is a final product, we actually created a blend that needed more wood. We did not try to design a complete whiskey. So we blended 12, 19, and 21-year-old whiskeys. The final ratio is 66% rye, 30% corn, 4% malted barley. And we blended this together with room for oak. And really, I love to hear that they taste integrated, because the point wasn't to give it a finish for the sake of a finish. The point was to basically create a whiskey that could be a good foundation for a bunch of different wood types and a bunch of different former barrels, so that when we further matured them, for now, some of these have been in oak for over a year, they're taking on different qualities from each other, such that when you buy a single barrel from Found North, it's a true one-of-one whiskey. This isn't some blend that we already make that we're just pulling a barrel out of. This is a fundamentally unique whiskey, and then the finishes are pretty much all different. And so you're really getting an opportunity to have some underlying layer of consistency. But when you do a barrel pick with us, there is this feeling of like, this is a barrel that only exists once, and really truly does only exist once, because we think that's kind of romantic.
Yeah.
I
mean, I think, look, we're on the internet drinking and chatting about whiskey as we pick barrels. I think we all think whiskey's a little romantic.
Fair.
Matt, thanks so much, man.
What is a muscat? What is muscat? I was wondering that as well. And the fact that you found 21-year-old whiskey that needed wizards. What is muscat?
Muscat is it's just a very particular type of wine. And it tends to be quite sweet. But I don't want to overly sort of shape what people are expecting from the single barrel, because just to get really geeky for a second, the previous spirit really matters for one of two reasons. One, if you have a wet cask, so the Calvados was very wet cask. So the fact that everybody's tasting apples and orchard fruits makes a lot of sense, because it's really pulling in some of the previous liquid. But the other aspect that's really important is the ABV of the previous spirit, because there are really two reactions that are happening to the whiskey within the barrel. There's the water interacting with the wood, which is hydrolysis, and then there's the alcohol interacting with the wood, which is ethanolysis. So when you use a Muscat barrel, Muscat is not very high ABV. You're getting way more hydrolysis and way less ethanolysis. So when you put wood in there, when you put whiskey into that wood, you're suddenly having a much higher ABV. You're having a much more higher ABV being introduced to that wood. And so now it's doing way more ethanolysis and way less hydrolysis. So what's available for the whiskey to actually interact with has changed, which is why this one's very cool. And you guys can give your notes, and I'll if you ask me my opinion at the end about them, I will happily give it.
Well, I have a thought.
Okay.
Because when he said that Muscat is sweet, it kind of shocked me, because this is not sweet to me.
So Aaron is very sensitive to overly sweet whiskey.
I am.
And while this is sweet, there is a tempered sweetness here that is, to me, very beautifully balanced. Mm-hmm. Overall, what did you think about this?
Oh, I like it. And I want to do like a backwards comparison, mm-hmm. because I don't want to judge this coming off of the sweetness of this. So I like it. I think it's it's less sweet than the first one we tried, mm-hmm. which I really liked the sweetness in the first one, but I think the less sweetness is more my vibe.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and, I said I wasn't going to give notes because I didn't want to influence anybody. But to me, upon first smelling this thing,
you made a face. You were like,
if you guys were watching in the chat and saw my face as soon as I smelled this, my goodness, this is a fantastic whiskey. It is, to me, it's a personal preference thing. Like, I like the Calvados finish. It's fruity. That's not my typical profile unless I'm in the mood for it, and it's striking me great tonight. However, this right here, we're leaning a little darker, and as soon as I smelled it, I got like this powdered sugar dusting over top of a pastry type of note going on. And that's
like Josh's kryptonite. If he can get a powdered sugar note, he's like a goner.
If you can give me powdered sugar with like a little bit of fruitiness and some fried dough, and then somehow you like rub that against a charred oak barrel, so it's got some like bits of char on it, and I can just stuff that whole thing in my mouth. That is what I love. I love this glass of whiskey. I love glass too. That's just a personal preference thing.
We got to move on because Josh will talk forever.
Let's go ahead and start in reverse order and give Bill and Delia a chance to talk first this time.
Okay.
What did you guys think about this one?
And don't let Josh influence you.
Yeah, don't let me influence you.
Aaron, you know me better than that.
I know. I'm just speaking for everyone else. Joe and Bill won't let Josh influence them, but everyone else, Josh, don't let him influence you.
So, to me, when you think of Muscat, which is, as Nick said, a sweet wine, you naturally expect sweet whiskey. But it's not as sweet as A, which throws you for a little bit of a mind warp in the beginning. In fact, the finish on it is just plain more subtle than the Calvados. This is more kind of original whiskey, much closer to the original single barrel than the one with the Calvados. You get more of the rye spice, you get more of the oak, because that's kind of the original base whiskey. That Muscat just puts that, there's a little fruitiness there. It's just not as fruity as the A. There's sweetness there, there's just not as much of A, and it lets the wood and the rye spice shine a little bit more than it did in the first one. So both good, just different. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. More subtle. To me, I would lean more towards the pear on this one as opposed to the apple on the other one. Definitely more rice spice. It's kind of a little mild dry on the backside, and I got that oaky charness, which is good. I think my personal preference at the moment is A. But again, you can't go wrong. So
love it. And I'll say I see DC in the chat, and Greg Johnson is spot on. He says my ideal food is beignets with jelly. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. So, all right, Ashley, what did you think about this one?
I like this one. I think I like the first one better, to be honest. I did get a little, some vanilla and oak on the nose. Palate, peppery spice, oaky. I got a little bit of citrus in there. And I did actually get biscuits. You may have got beignets, but I wrote biscuits. I can almost kind of chew it. I like it. Nice long peppery finish. It's good. They're both good. They're just completely different.
Yeah, that's a really good point. They are both good, just very different. And going into this with those different finishing casks, you kind of know that it's going to come down to a palate preference type of thing. Joe, what did you guys think about it over there?
So we had quite a bit to say about this one. Josh, I think, and Bill, you might be able to attest to this. I think the first time this ever happened to me, I know you can't read that, but I have no tasting notes, because as soon as I nose it and taste it, I just couldn't think of any. It was so good. It just, I don't know.
Take the words right out of your mouth.
I think I blacked out for a minute. It was so good.
Not often does that happen.
Well, since you asked, Joe, I can attest that you rarely are speechless.
But actually, Chris helped me out with one of the notes that I absolutely loved and really got in this. So, Chris, you want to tell us what you thought?
Yeah, in the aroma, I had peach rings and even some like Lifesaver gummies, almost just like a bag of fruity gummies. On the flavor, I just had bold and robust. Definitely very different than the first one. Good, but I had a medium finish, and it was almost drying on the roof of my mouth on the palate.
Yeah, those peach rings. That's what you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Like you go to Cracker Barrel, you get the peach rings. Oh. Yeah. Jeff, what did you think?
I picked up on the aroma. I picked up kind of a French candy. I don't know how many people might be familiar with that, but it was a nice, sweet, what's known as French candy. On the flavor, I picked up kind of a grape, kind of a white grape, a sweetness to it, and then the finish was just rich and oily, which is something I really enjoy.
Landon, what did you think?
Yeah, I think this, comparing the number to the first one, I think the only fault on this one is the finish. It's not the finish that, personally my palate would like. I thought it was a little drying, but I think, the palate was a great mixture of fruit, some wood, some honey, some richness. But the only fault, I think, is the finish for me.
And Jess, what do you think?
I got more butterscotch caramel. It's got a good rye spice. It's oily. Definitely better than the first one, in my opinion. And I'd say the drying was actually more present for me on the first one than this one. This is more like my wheelhouse.
Yeah. And I thought I don't know. These guys didn't agree. I thought the first one might have had a little better mouthfeel. Maybe felt a little thicker like that. Maybe it was just in my mind with that honey note. But everything else with number 2, it was just a wow. And Josh, I don't know if you still have the barrel 1. Go back and nose that. And I got smoky barbecue coming off of number 2, going to the
Shut up. You're so right.
Yeah, like a tangy sweet barbecue sauce kind of.
I love it when whiskey reminds me of barbecue potato chips.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite things because you drink it with
last night. I was
beef jerky.
I think Jeff said it, but he said the finish on this was rich and oily, and this is one of the most fascinating things when we do blind flight nights with our Patreon community, where we're all drinking the exact same thing at the same time. Nobody knows what it is, and we're all having different tasting notes, different experiences. There's been a lot of comments on the finish of glass 2, like it's a heavier mouthfeel. It's not as strong on the finish as glass 1. I definitely got more spice on the finish of glass 1, whereas this one I got more of a I think Jeff said rich and oily. To me, it was like if you just took I'm a photographer background, so like the flavors in this are very saturated, like they sit and just soak into the back of the palate. So I like that experience. It's not for everybody, but I like it a lot. And I want to comment on Jess too, said that this one was, I think Jess said it was a little drying on the finish, and it's drying in the way that
she said the first one was more drying.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
I was on the dry train.
Okay. I did get dryness on the finish here, but in like a nice dry way. Mm-hmm. Like it seems like it comes from the oak, and it's not like an off-putting dryness, like an off-putting really dry wine that just is kind of lacking in flavor and stuff. It just seemed to me like the oak really sat in and was really nice on that one. It makes me really excited to get into the new wood char number 1 here. So it's going to be the third one, guys. As we nose and taste this, Nick, I know we're dealing with different finishing barrels here, but one of the other fascinating things about what you guys do is the wood that you use for the barrels. So when you're dealing with these in their single grain states, I know a lot of the Found North stuff is Hungarian oak. I don't know if these are, but if they are, can you speak to that a little bit? And then even the new wood char number 1, if you could say anything about what particular wood that might be, just speak to that a little bit, because I think it was really interesting what you had to say on the November live stream. If you can remember it, and I'll remind you.
Yeah, so I absolutely love Hungarian oak in general. We love blending with it because it tends to give more wood sweetness, more wood sugar, and less tannin. So when we're using really old barrels that have been in Hungarian oak, they don't start to get that pencil shaving note. They just kind of get more and more molassesy, which isn't a word, but I'll take it. These whiskeys, the whiskeys that we used for these blends, 2 of them were actually ex-bourbon casks, and one was a new oak cask, but with only partial new oak finish. And really the reason behind that was we didn't want to put so when you put whiskey, when you recast whiskey, you reset the oakiness. Surprisingly, whiskeys don't get super over oaked because it continues to be extractive. It actually tends to get over oaked because it starts to be reductive, where other compounds are evaporating out, because most of your wood influence happens in the first 6 months. And virtually all of it happens in the first 18 months. And then what happens is you're just evaporating the stuff that aren't the wood compounds. And so it eventually will start getting bitter and astringent. And so for us, knowing that we were going to effectively double the amount of wood extraction, we really wanted to focus on using used barrels, which was a little terrifying, to be honest, because it's much easier to make a finished whiskey, as in a completed whiskey, and just bottle it. Whereas making something where you're like, okay, I really like where this is, and in my head, I like where it's going to go in all of these different wood types, is intimidating. And in particular, I actually got a chance to taste the Muscat today. I was just comparing it to where it was 2 months ago and 4 months ago. So just seeing how it's changed. And these whiskeys, particularly in wine barrels, don't behave linearly. They kind of go all over the place. You really like them. They're getting less dry, and then suddenly they're getting more dry, and then they're getting less dry, and then the dryness is changing, and suddenly it's oily.
The metaphor for life.
It's not cooperative. Whereas the spirit casks like the Calvados and any sort of brandy or former whiskey barrels that we use to age stuff tend to behave relatively in a straight line. The wine goes freaking everywhere. And then the new wood behaves much more sort of predictably. The interesting thing about this one was that it was a level 1 char. And there's a bit of a, like, people like big numbers in general. And so people like the idea of a level 7 char because it's level 7. But honestly, like, doing a level 1 char is really, really cool, because you gain a lot of sweetness in actually the wood sugars and the caramelization and kind of the marshmallow effect, which is one of my favorite things. But you do it very gently, and you don't get nearly as much sort of heavy oak. And so instead of getting this kind of dry oak, you tend to get more of this. It's funny you guys said barbecue on the last one. You tend to get barbecue on your lower level charred new wood barrels, and so we'll see how people feel about it with this one. But I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm not. I've already said too much.
There you go. You say something. What did you think about
I don't know.
That's all you got? Okay.
That's all I got. It's good. And for me, I will just go ahead and say it's between 2 and 3.
Okay.
But I don't know which one. I'm torn.
Well, we'll work our way back through and figure it out there. But as soon as I took a sip of this, it hit me like an incredibly sweet bourbon, and just it almost overwhelmed me with how much flavor there was immediately. Like it bust through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man, except it wasn't Kool-Aid. It was like caramel and toastiness and marshmallow and graham cracker. It's very bourbon-esque, and it's very saturated sweet with the flavors. It's a wild experience.
I didn't think it was sweet at all.
It's not overly sickeningly sweet, but it just has a lot of like that caramelly type of bourbony sweetness in my mind, or to my palate. But this was wild. I think I'm in the same boat as you. 2 and 3 are my front runners, but I haven't gone back to 1 yet.
Yeah, I want to do a reverse.
We'll work our way through it as we kind of open the floor for discussion once we finish this one. But Joe, I'll pitch it back over to you guys. What did you guys think about this one?
Yeah, so we had 3 comments as a group here. One is they said it was cute that me and you tend to say the same thing. And then
Bro, man.
So point number two is they asked, can we get more of these samples? And then 3, Josh, do you think we could sell through 3 barrels? No, the general consensus here was, I mean, you could put 3, 1 and 2 were good. You could tell they drink like a rye type mash bill. 100% everybody agreed drinks like a bourbon type mash bill, even though it is an underlying rye mash bill. But you could put this, the consensus was you could put this up against any limited edition bourbon from any legacy distillery in the past couple of years. And I would dare anybody to say this isn't as good or better than a lot of the limited edition from legacy distilleries. I mean, I'll let these guys speak for it. Chris, what do you think?
No on the nose. I just had caramel and brown sugar on the flavor. It's too hard to describe. It's just damn good.
There you go.
I like it. Sweet and to the point.
Jeff?
Yeah, same thing. Caramel, brown sugar, that nice toasted flavor, the sweetness, and that finish just lingers and lingers. It's outstanding.
So, and that was brought up a couple of times and I think because, our control pour is a char 3. This one's a char 1, and it was toasted, like a toasted barrel, was brought up multiple times.
Yeah, that's the first thing I said when I smelled it was this smells toasted. So.
Yeah, I wrote down vanilla caramel cake and taking a bite of wood after that. I mean, this one's incredible. I mean, the legs on this are really good. I mean, if you look at your glass, the legs are great on this. This one, for me, I'm between 1 and 3. I'm gonna have to go back, but this one is a great one. I love this one.
I think I agree between 2 and 3. I think 3 is probably leading for me. And then because of the similar finishing in new wood, coming off of 1 and 2, I got on the finish just a little slight bit of that smoky barbecue, like specifically a Texas mesquite barbecue note.
Stop, Joe.
That I really love.
I love it too.
Aaron, it's not. No, Aaron, it's not bologna.
You're causing me to stumble. No, I don't like bologna. I love barbecue though.
That's what we got to say.
Very interesting. Ashley, what did you think about this one?
I've loved all of them, but when I first tasted this, I really love this. This is great. A lot of creamy caramel on the nose, oak char and palate. I also got mesquite on the finish, and I wrote that down, so it's true. I think it's really there. It's wonderful. I think between 1 and 3 are my 2 favorites right now.
Nice. Delia, Bill, what do you guys think about this one?
Well, my first sip, I got like a tea flavor out of it, and it has kind of a Kentucky hug that the other 2 don't have. Mm-hmm. I didn't get a whole lot of sweetness. And thank you, Joe, for saying it's like a classic bourbon, because I'm talking to Bill and I was like, oh, it's like a classic bourbon. And he's like, It's a rye. It can't be a classic bourbon. I was like, well, okay.
You could fool me.
Yeah, I mean, it did not come across as a bourbon to me, and it didn't come across as particularly sweet. I'm with Aaron. I don't know where Josh got all that crazy sweetness from. It didn't come across very sweet to me. It's very good, and Jess, your toasted comment I think is spot on. It comes across as a very good quality toasted whiskey, and the finish on it forever.
Yeah, the finish does last an eternity,
which is kind of amazing.
I'm still tasting it right now. Yeah, so this is wild. So for the chat's benefit, when we were talking about how we were going to handle this tonight, we were wait.
Scott wants to know when can he just give us his money?
They're coming. The wild thing about this when we were setting this up is like, okay, how are we going to go through this? And I asked Nick, like, what progression should we go through? And it makes perfect sense now. It makes 100% perfect sense. We started with probably the lighter, more refreshing, effervescent profile. We went a little darker and heavier handed with the Muscat, and then we went, I don't even know where we went on this. Yeah. Yeah. This is just an enveloping experience. This will be really interesting to work through. I don't know right now, chat, if you guys have questions, if there's any questions that you have that you want to pitch out, that you want Nick to field, or you have questions for any of us.
I have made my decision, so I can monitor the chat while everyone else is thinking.
So, Nick, I think one question that would be interesting to answer for everybody, because the concept of single barrels here is obviously different than the American whiskey single barrels, and the fact that these are all the same proof, right? When you get, am I wrong? I thought they were. Maybe
they're close. They tend to be close.
Yeah. Where, if you get a single barrel from most, classic Kentucky distilleries, they can vary greatly.
These all say 109.
These are all like 109, if I recall, right?
If they say 109, then Phil, my valiant Phil, may have printed the single barrel one and then changed the thing on all of them, because some of these, like the Muscat, hasn't even been proofed yet. I don't know what the proof is. But that being said, we haven't had anything come out outside of the 110 to 118 range. Everything's kind of in that 109 to 118 range. We have had some variants. The interesting thing has been that it all started at, I think, around 112. So we've had a few go up 4 or 5 proof points, and we've had a few go down 3 or 4 proof points.
Well, I'll tell you what, Nick, if any of these are over that like 110 proof point, they drink phenomenally for those.
All 3 are. I'm almost positive all 3 are. Actually, I think all 3 of these are high proof ones for us.
I mean, I think everybody can agree. You could tell they're higher proof.
Yeah.
But when I'm thinking of like a 114, 115, 118 proof, none of these drink. These drink so well rounded that
I believe the Calvados is 117.4, and the
no way it drinks anywhere near that.
Newwood Char number 1 is 115.2, and I think the Muscat is close to 115.
Yeah, they don't drink that high.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
they don't drink. We don't make whiskey that drinks its proof. I don't understand why, but it never does. It's wild.
And if Matt's still watching, there you go for Matt Madness, because nobody will guess the proof.
Also, I will say, and I said this in the private chat, but I'll say it on the broadcast. Y'all's notes are righteous. I mean, holy cow, you guys hit it on the head. It looks, your collective notes look like my notes for each barrel. If the third one doesn't have a mesquite finish, then I've never tasted any mesquite bar. Like, I get mesquite 1,000%. I was 100% on board with that. And I also think it drinks like a bourbon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The wild thing about this is that I just tasted back through them starting with a Newwood Char number 1 and went back to the Calvados, and these are all just fantastic. It really does come down to personal preference. There's not a bad choice in the bunch.
So they are. I think I don't know if anybody else is picking this up, but coming off of the Newwood Char 1 back to the Muscat, which prior was my leading, it almost feels a little thinner now coming off, and I think it might be that Texas barbecue note is just overpowering it, and it's coming off a little thinner now.
The third one, just to be very clear, I put the third one last very much for a reason. Josh kind of nailed it. The first one, the Calvados, is super approachable. It's really easy to go from that to the next whiskey. I put the Muscat in second because it's very much I personally think it's very much a rye drinker's rye. It is more, I think it's more linear with the rye spice across the whole palate. And then 3 is such a, like, you just kind of landed in a pile of pillows. It just kind of just completely encircles you. And when you try, I find it difficult to actually go back to the other ones. I really do. Not that it's necessarily my favorite. I just think we drank them in a direction for a reason.
It's difficult to go back to them, even though as good as they are. And it's no joke. Whichever one we pick, whatever happens to the other 2 barrels, I want to find those bottles.
Yeah,
and if I thought we could support sell through on 3 barrels, I would be pushing Josh for 3 barrels.
So speaking of, that's a great segue here to Experience Whiskey Old Guy Barry in the chat. Thanks for joining in tonight, man. He said, how was it distributed? Half to Maumee Valley Whiskey Society, half to Stuff and Whiskey. What's the approximate bottle yield? So Nick's already told us bottle yield on these. I mean, we're doing a half a barrel, so where it's going to be 120 to 140-ish bottles or so. I mean, you're filling up an entire barrel, right, Nick? Like you're taking.
Yes, there's no angel share, right? Well, there is. Actually, there's a ton of angel share right off the bat, but relative to something that's been, when you top it back off, you're starting at square one again. So we only have, a year of angel share rather than 20 years of angel share.
Right, for sure. So there's that. And then it'll be distributed through our Patreon. And then for Maumee Valley Whiskey Society, Joe and Jess will be, they've got their people there. We have a tiered system that's kind of very similar. It's very aligned, and we'll just roll it out to each tier every hour on the hour, like we've done all of our barrel picks so far.
Like at the same time. So like our top tiers and their top tiers, we'll get it at the same hour.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to the next tiers, each of us.
And it will be through an online retailer, so everybody will have access to it, provided they ship to your state. I don't even know if they ship to our state. So we might have to work something out to be able to get our own barrel. But that's, we're willing to do that just because we want to be able to provide you guys with this. And yeah, these are really fantastic.
Yeah.
I did want to make a comment real quick. The first single barrel that got released under Found North.
I'm sorry. That's really funny. Thanks, Michael, for making me laugh.
So the new char number 3 that you guys released as your first single barrel, I 100% see why you chose that, because there's this decadent butterscotchiness to it.
I freaking love this one.
But
the char number 3.
I don't know that I don't prefer the char number 1 more. Just personal preference.
They're different. They're
different for sure, but they're both equally as good, which is just a testament the fact that you guys can release 2 whiskeys of that caliber, much less to have us, sitting here trying to decide between these 3. Very, very interesting stuff.
So Nick,
sorry, go ahead.
I've got one other unrelated question. So other single barrels that you released this year, the other 2 I happen to have here are the Benny's pick and the Nash and Journey pick. And this Benny's pick, by the way, is pretty good. Are these the same char number 3 as the first one that you released, or
different amount of aging? So basically the char 3s all had that. We had a feeling, we had an instinct that char 3 would be really good. And so there are only so many barrel types. The other thing I would say is buying barrels isn't like going to IKEA. You can't just kind of go, I'll take one of those and one of these and one of those and one of these. You kind of have to, and on top of it, when you're buying barrels, particularly any wet casks, you need to buy them and fill them immediately. The longer you wait, the worse the wood gets, right? Sure. So for us, it was a bit of we're planning this, but it was also a bit of we have to be opportunistic about, let's nose this wood and see how it is, to see how this is tasting. Does it have any must? No. Is it going to react well with our whiskey? Yes. Okay, buy it, fill it. And char level 3 was something that we felt most secure about. So we ended up doing 3 of them, and we pulled them all at different times so that they would all have some level of difference. Although, to be completely honest with you, we didn't need to. when you taste them, they created enough natural sort of distance from each other where it wasn't like, oh, I'm just drinking the same whiskey.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Very cool. Mike Hunter in the chat asked, do these drinks similar to batch 5 or 6 or completely different?
Oh.
That's a fantastic question. I'm not drinking any of them side by side, but I know that Joe and Bill both have a lot of
Nick
experience.
might have something to say.
But yeah, go ahead, Nick.
You in the back right there?
You're the guy that makes
you in the blue shirt.
Yeah, me in the blue shirt. Me. I don't think any of them drink like 5 or 6. God, you could really stretch it and maybe say the third one drinks a little like 5 because of the new wood influence. But honestly, I wouldn't say that. I would say somebody nailed it earlier. I think the Muscat drinks like a jacked up version of batch 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That
was the closest one. The Muscat, like a jacked up batch 3. The other of them are so different and so good on their own. And that's the other thing I love about Found North, right? Like a lot of legacy distilleries, a lot of American whiskey, they want to go for consistency, although that trend is starting to change with all the craft distilleries. But all of your different batches, the different blends, the different finishes have such good, unique, awesome flavors on their own that's half the fun is the experience of the different ones. You just have to be willing to get a couple of bottles of each ahead of time. So you can, that's why you get all. But hey, also Josh, I wanted to real quick before we moved on. I know Mike did a chat there, but I wanted to give a shout out to Mike Newcomer, Don Wills. They're 2 brand new members to us, executive members, really supporting us out. Came out for a private event on Friday. Wanted to give them a shout out, and then if Andy Lagnus is still in watching, give a shout out to him too. So
nice.
Love it. All right, guys. So I think if everyone has their rankings, we'll go through this and we'll tally up the numbers. Although it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I want to say real quick, as you can see in the ticker down below, we'll go ahead and do like a last minute call on super chats here. If you want to get in and get samples of Found North batch 3, 4, 5, and 6, and a sample of the barrel that we end up picking here. Depending on which one we pick, it might be a 1 ounce sample of that.
Yeah,
one.
We don't have.
The rest of them, you'll get 2 ounce samples though.
I might be able to help you.
There we go. We'll figure something out. But every $5 super chat will get you in on that. So we'll do a little bit of a last call for that. We'll do our rating, or we'll go through this and see which one is our kind of consensus favorite here for the pick, and then we'll put a button on this, do a giveaway, and then get you guys out of here on a school night.
Does anyone,
as Aaron says?
Yeah, it's a school night. I gotta go to bed like right now. Does anyone need more time? Has anyone not kind of ranked?
That's a good question.
Okay.
We need more samples.
I think we're all good.
More
we're
samples.
Good. More samples so we can decide.
So, want to go ahead and say this up front, Eric. Thank you so much. We got you in
Eric.
here, and again, we got to say thanks to Greg for tracking this for us.
Yes, thank you, Greg. We love you.
All right, so we're gonna go down the line. We're gonna start with the Calvados finish, and if you have the Calvados finish as your first place, number 1, this is the one that's your favorite. Let's see a show of hands on that. Keeping in mind, these are all good whiskey.
They're all good.
They're all great.
Yeah.
There's not a bad whiskey in the bunch here.
If anybody watching sees this come out and you find a single barrel of this finish, buy it because it's good.
Especially if you like real fruit flavors in your whiskey. Like I want this. This isn't my first place choice, but I want this in the springtime and just like sitting out on like a crisp like spring morning or a crisp fall afternoon and just drinking this and I don't know, watching the sunset or something.
Wow,
I don't
are you
know.
like putting in a 1-900 ad or something?
All right.
I don't know.
All right.
I would buy all 3 of these.
I would for sure, yeah.
If all these went out, I'd buy a bottle of all 3.
I'd be happy with all of them. Yeah. All right. So, all right. No first place votes for the Calvados. Any second place votes? All right. 3 second place votes. So, all right. And then third place votes for the Calvados. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
It was my first place before I tried the other two.
Aaron, it was mine too.
I know, right?
That is one of the most clever. It was my first place before I tried the other two. That's fair. It's worthy of a first place
It's very
pour.
good.
I mean,
All right.
if you love that fruity sweet, it's a winner.
All right.
Go back to it. It's almost like juicy
all
fruit
right.
game 2 now on the nose.
The Muscat.
Wait, Nick, we see your question. We'll talk offline.
I'll do.
We'll talk offline.
Anytime you're in Nashville.
No, we'll talk offline.
All right.
Yeah.
So the Muscat. Does anybody have the Muscat in first place?
Oh, crickets.
Wow.
Okay, let's just go ahead. Okay. I
Okay.
thought this would be way more dramatic. I was trying to build
Yeah.
Who has Newwood #1 in first place?
Nicholas.
There we go. So looks like we got our pick, guys.
So that was good. Now, Nick, so March 9th, 10th, and 11th
Is that for me?
for Nashville. March 9th, 10th, and 11th for Nashville.
Oh yeah, come hang out.
Matt's saying I'm just
I have something on the 9th, but I might be able to come down 10 and 11. I'll check.
That works.
All right. Man, I really thought I was gonna have to do math there. You guys really saved me, okay?
Yeah, and we haven't
Actually, we
messed
saved
up.
ourselves because you doing math is dangerous.
Yeah.
Right.
So whoever wins the super chat giveaway will get that much of what we just picked for our barrel.
Okay.
All right.
So for everybody then, we are selecting the single barrel. So the underlying mash bill, quote unquote, for all of them was 66% rye, 30% corn, 4% malted barley. And then this is finished in a Newwood Char #1 barrel, which is, I mean, close to a toasted barrel. And then Nick, did you say you had an idea of what the proof was on that one?
115.2, and I confirmed via text with our warehouse.
Okay, yeah. Well, anywhere in there. So, I mean, what would you guys? I mean, drinks like a really nice 105 to 110. Like, feel it's there. It's super delicious. So,
But it has enough of like that Kentucky hug where you know it's high proof.
right.
You're just like, I know it's high proof, but why isn't it burning?
Yeah.
Right.
There's such a level of flavor saturation that you don't typically get.
Yeah.
And to me, this is just, you wouldn't, I don't think you would know that it was a quote unquote rye mash bill because it's not a mash bill. It's a blend bill or whatever you want to call it. Like it brings in so much sweetness from that Newwood Char that, yeah, I mean, that's just flat out good whiskey. I'd say if you like toasted barrel stuff, we always try to speak to this because not every pick is for everybody.
Correct. Yeah.
But if you've tried toasted barrel, double oak stuff, if you like that toastiness, that extra level of sweetness that you get from it,
But it's not too sweet. I do have to say that because as a person who does not like super sweet bourbon, this is not too sweet at all, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not overly fake sugar sweet. And then, I mean, so our whiskey society, we have people. I mean, you see people on the Facebook groups all the time, camping out in front of liquor stores, waiting, and that can be fun. And we all want, to find that limited edition bottle from the Legacy distilleries. But all the ones that I've had, and I've had all the Pappies except for 23. I've had a decent amount of all the allocated Legacy bourbons. This one right here, our pick is, I would put it up against any of them, toe to toe, double wine, toe to toe, any day.
There's good whiskey out there, guys. There's a ton of good whiskey out there, and I'm going to thank Nick for even giving us the opportunity to be able to pick this. I mean,
thank you so much.
Nick, we got to talk because I got to find out where this Muscat barrel's going. I was this close to putting it in first, because it's got some really cool stuff going on in it, but it's not we pretty clearly saw that the Newwood Char #1 was the people's pick, And I agree. I think it is like the best overall, but that Muscat's doing some it's doing some really good stuff too. I got to find out where that's at.
A little inside baseball for those people watching who have maybe never been on a barrel pick before. And if you're watching, you're a Maumee Valley Whiskey Society member and you want to go on a barrel pick, jump in one of our higher tiers, and we bring people along on our barrel picks, just like you're saying here. You have to pick based on the flavor profile and preference of the people picking, but you also have to keep in mind the greater group that's going to be buying these bottles, right? You have to know your group and what kind of their dominant flavor profile is, because you want to sell those bottles and do good by the distillery and do good by the wholesaler and then continue to do those. So I think that's a great one, but hey, maybe we'll have to talk to our retail partner we're working with to do their own pick for some of the other ones.
And Terrence had a great question. Maybe I missed it, but how much will this pick be? Now, some of that is up to our retail partner, but Found North single barrel picks usually come in around $99 or $109 a pick. So we'll be in that ballpark range. We're not marking it up or anything through our retail partner. We want to get you guys the whiskey as affordably as possible. It's a fantastic, it's going to be a fantastic bottle. So whoever gets one, congratulations.
So speaking of that, Josh, do you have the ability? Were we gonna show the collaborative pick logo that we put together? Is that ready to be? Are you ready to announce that yet?
We decided. For those that are maybe watching from the Maumee Valley Whiskey Society that aren't as familiar with Stuff and Whiskey, or those watching from the Stuff and Whiskey side that don't know the Maumee Valley Whiskey Society, but maybe know Joe's name in chat and Jess's name in chat. We have.
Where is it?
It's the third one right there. So, Joe, you guys are seeing it right now.
It's right above Nick's head.
S&W MVP. Stuff and Whiskey, Maumee Valley Pick, Barrel Club. Great hand modeling, Vanna.
Yes.
It's actually really hard. Maybe I should just go like this.
Well done, Nick. Well done, Nick.
I love it.
But yeah, so those will represent, I'm honored to call Joe a friend, one of the best guys I know, and just to be able to collaborate between our channel, his Whiskey Society, it is vital to be able to move barrel picks so that we have opportunities to continue to do barrel picks. Obviously, we would love to know exactly how many people want to buy a bottle and just make that barrel yield that many bottles exactly.
In a perfect world.
But as always, we would rather err on the side of moving the barrel pick than having thousands of dollars of whiskey tied up in the interim, in the balance. So we're going to distribute this through both of our platforms, through our Patreon platform, through the Maumee Valley Whiskey Society platform. Obviously, higher tiers are going to get first access, and that's where you want to be if it's a pick you want to get. However, there is a good yield on this. So it's hard to say, we're still trying to figure out the demand on things. And it's always a little bit of a guessing game. All we can promise you guys is we're going to do our best to try to make it available to as many people as possible. But we also have to move the barrel so we can continue to do more picks. So, yeah.
Also, we have a bot in here. I'm pretty sure. Should I get rid of that?
Nope.
I don't know.
Only Jesus saves. I'm going to put the user in timeout.
Hey, that's better than the blast bot you guys had on live.
Yeah, that's better than most bots that we have. Yeah.
I blocked that account for 5 minutes. We'll see what happens.
And you like Jesus.
Jesus is cool. We're tight. It's all good.
So I know most of the viewers right now are probably Stuff and Whiskey viewers. Awesome. Thanks for joining in. A few of them are from the Maumee Valley Whiskey Society, and I'm sure some will catch the replays. But we have a couple of collaborative picks. If you've checked the Facebook group, you've seen that. We have a couple of collaborative picks lined up with Josh and Aaron with Stuff and Whiskey. And we've got our collaborative logo that'll be on there, which is really cool. And we'll still continue to do our own stuff, just as Josh and Aaron will continue to do their stuff. But it's really fun for these team ups, and we thought it would be really nice to have a nice collaborative logo integrating both of our organizations on there for everybody. So just wanted to make sure everybody knew what to look for.
March 10th in Nashville.
Yeah. FYI, just a fun little FYI. One of the 2 barrels that didn't get picked may become a Found North mailing list only release. That's how we did barrel 1.
Nice.
Oh,
There's a
hey.
chance. There's a debate right now.
I'm down
I
with
will
that.
say the Muscat barrel is Sammy, our director of whiskey innovation. Coolest job title ever. Sammy's favorite barrel is the Muscat, and it's one of my favorite. And so he's pushing pretty hard to make that more broadly available. The last one sold out in 12 minutes. So
Okay, so Nick here, what did they just go to your website to sign up for your newsletter? How
if
do
you
they
go to our homepage, foundnorthwhiskey.com, and you go to the bottom, you can sign up for it.
And pay attention to those times. Be ready at those times.
And be ready 5 minutes after the time, because sometimes MailChimp doesn't work and it pisses everyone off.
Just keep watching, keep hitting refresh. I'm down for that to go mailing list. I want that one as well.
We're thinking about it. We really are thinking about it. We're going to do another one soon, and it's a hot debate as to which one to pick.
Yeah.
Well, I think you got some customers here, Nick, if you do it.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Guys, this was a ton of fun. Greg, if you can randomize the list of entries for the giveaway and then let us know a number range.
Turn the banner off. Giveaway is closed for
giveaway
business.
Is closed. We will select a number here, and then we will cap this night off. So, man, this is a great. Let me just say, with this many cooks in the kitchen, the biggest strength of a group of this size is that you're going to have a larger consensus opinion that's going to hopefully show viewers that you're getting a barrel that is a really good pick across a broad spectrum of palates.
Yeah.
Whereas the fear of doing a pick with so many people involved is that it's just going to be a scattered mess, and you're going to have 3 people that like this one more and 2 people that like this one more, and it's going to end up being a little bit of a debate. And that's what I thought. That's why I was tallying numbers in the beginning. To be this like landslide on a single barrel for a group of this size is not something that happens very often. So just saying, there's something to be said for that. So this is a very, very interesting process. Want to thank everybody here in the chat. We got 72 in the chat. Go ahead and just real quick, if you can, if you're on mobile, you can just close the chat, hit the like button, and then pop right back into the chat. And if you're not on mobile, just click the like button. It helps a ton, helps the channel reach more people. And it helps us keep doing what we're doing and picking good whiskey.
Greg
and
says
all that stuff.
1 to 37.
1 to 37.
Should we, Nick, do you want to pick a number 1 to 37?
I think that was exactly what I was about to do.
God. Oh, man.
Pressure.
No pressure. It's going to be a randomized
What's your
list.
birthday, Nick?
The list has already been random.
I'm gonna go. Okay, I'm gonna go with 29 because yesterday was the 29th and it was my wedding anniversary. So thank you.
Cheers.
Good choice.
Cheers.
Also,
Cheers.
Man.
And actually, my best friend had his firstborn yesterday. So all good things.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Hey.
29 is the day. Is the number.
29 is a good number. Oh, that's Eric Doucette.
Eric Doucette. Congratulations, Eric. That's awesome, man. Email us at stuffandwhiskey@gmail.com or hit us up on Patreon.
Yeah.
We will get those to you. Yeah. Awesome, dude. That is amazing.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And he's saying congrats to Nick, but we're saying congrats to him.
Yeah,
so.
Congrats. Eric's saying congrats. We're saying congrats. Congrats, everybody.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Congrats on a great stream. Congrats on a great pick, everybody. Yep. Aaron with the New Girl reference.
Yeah. Does anyone watch New Girl? Or has anyone seen the show New Girl? Okay, so every single time I hear the number 29, I'm like, 29? Because I think of Schmidt on his 29th birthday. I've watched that series, like, I'm going through it for the 4th time now. Yeah. So I'm a New Girl fan.
She can't get enough.
So
29.
So right, also, Josh, Aaron, I want to say cheers to you. Thanks a lot for, helping support our group. Collaborating with us. I love what you guys are doing on the channel. For any of our members, if you're watching and you're not subscribed to them, please subscribe to them. They have awesome content. They're great people, know them personally. And also, if this is your first exposure to Found North, check them out online. Check them out. They've got a couple of retail partners they work with. You will not be disappointed. And you don't have to wait in line for 12 hours in front of a store for their stuff. And it's fantastic.
Yes.
Preach.
Also, Chris
All right.
says yesterday was his birthday too. So
happy birthday, Chris.
Oh, heck yeah, Chris.
Hey, Chris Lancourt. Happy birthday, Chris. Nice to see you. He's, one of our members too here locally.
Well,
There
happy
you go.
birthday.
Cheers, Chris. All my glasses are empty. So
Yeah, we
I
can't
won't
choose.
choose you. But
All right.
everybody on the screen, hang around a minute. Everybody in the chat, thank you for being here. This was a ton of fun. Hopefully you're looking forward to this barrel.
I'm looking forward to
If you're
it.
not, more for us.
I can guarantee you Josh is going to blow our budget trying to buy as many bottles as he can because he's already done it. It's going to happen.
Turns out doing your own picks just makes you want to buy all your own picks. So yeah, it's part of the problem. But all right, guys, we're going to get out of here for tonight. Thank you all for being here in chat. We'll see you guys backstage. Cheers all.
All right.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.